Music brings joy, and where there's joy, there's life. To anyone going through a battle with cancer or has lost loved ones along the way, this is dedicated to my beautiful mother, Audrey, and to all of you.
Hey, kona titiro atuai ora mate hey bueno ai Hey, kona titira tuai ora mate hey bueno when Christ shall come, it shall of acclamation and take me home. Joy shall fill my heart. Then I shall bow in humble adoration.
And proclaim, my God, how great thou art.
Then sings my soul, my Savior, to thee. How great thou art! How great thou art! Then sings my soul, my Savior, to thee. How great thou art! How great thou
Oh, kia ora, kia ora. How are you today, Ruth?
Well, I'm better now.
Very powerful, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Very
look,
powerful.
Thank you for coming on. I like to put a waiata up. It sort of gets me into a space. It lifts the soul and all of that stuff. I was nearly in tears because, as you may know, I've not long buried my father. So I was thinking about him when I was listening to that waiata. But thank you, Ruth, for coming on. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. You have a taonga for all of us to consider. And I want you to talk to our people about just what that taonga is. You're in the freedom, I can only call it the freedom fighting space. That's where we are. I'm a bit of a warrior, but you're thinking and considering the next level ahead. So if you want to just introduce yourself, where you're from, maybe a little bit about your background, and then tell us a bit about this amazing taonga.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Donna, for having me. And just firstly, I'd like to also thank you so much for stepping up in this space. You know, we've known each other over the years, come and go on different political movements and so forth. And so to see you stepping forward now and at this really important time and bravely out the front as a political leader is fantastic. So we're very, very grateful for you, Donna. I know I speak for many people when I say that.
Kia ora.
Yeah, kia ora. So myself, well, I'm Ruth, and I've done all kinds of different things in my life. I am a bit of a political animal as well, from the perspective of wanting to put my shoulder to the wheel to improve policy, improve society, and bring us back to where we need to be as a human species. No mean feat. I'm also a spiritual person, like many of you listening and many of the people in this freedom movement. We run, whether we be Māori, Pākehā, or other races, we work from a space of intuition. Many of us are drawn to this movement because we understand now is our time to start reimagining what the future could look like. As this situation we're in at the moment starts to fall apart around our ears. So it's a very exciting time to be alive, isn't it, Donna? It really is. And, you know, we were born for this.
Well, it creates opportunity, eh? You know, what, like I've said to the people that follow me, I said the pandemic has actually created an opportunity, because without it, we wouldn't know, or we wouldn't investigate into some of these areas where our Bill of Rights and our human rights are being breached. I mean, I was an Indigenous and still am an Indigenous activist, or Māori activist, I suppose you could label, or some people could label it that. Now I'm a civil rights activist, because without civil rights, there are no Indigenous rights.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, isn't it, to see that everything that we've done till this point has brought us to here. And myself as well, I had a couple of stints on the Nelson City Council as a sitting councillor. So that was a fascinating experience, sort of being in the machinations of government and seeing governance and seeing how policy was made, and, you know, how the system sort of perpetrates itself. It was very, very interesting. So I guess I'm a communications person. I'm also a graphic designer. I lived in the Netherlands for 13 years in Amsterdam. It was a cool part of my life from 24 to 38. I had an absolute blast. I was self-employed there. And I really enjoyed living in a really progressive society that looked at many issues quite pragmatically and had very clever solutions, including sort of social solutions. Gave me a really good underpinning for my worldview, if you like. And anyway, so I guess why I'm on here today is really to speak about this new app that myself and my two co-founders have created. So we were sitting around here in Wellington in December, like many people, wondering what on earth had happened as the mandate started to bite, and more of us found ourselves on the outside of society. Many people already in professions that were, we're, all of us, as we know, we're going through some major changes at that time and sort of adjusting, to what was going on. And I was on the beach one evening, a full moon, and I met this young fella. I went to get his number before I left. All the people sitting around the fire were on the same page. It was wonderful to commune together like that. So I said to him, can I have your number? Let's get together. He said, I wish we had an app. So that we could all connect the collective essentially. And I did happen to have an app that myself and my husband had started some years earlier called the Wellington app. It was a news and business listings app, and it had gone, it was in a dormant phase, but I'd always known, one day we're going to need it to connect the collective. We're actually going to need this thing. So when Ewan said that to me, it was one of those aha moments. I knew that this was the time and this is what we had to do. So we didn't really have to think about it too much. We just got busy about creating it, and that enabled us to launch the app in April this year, so fairly quickly. So we were down at Parliament there as well, of course, and we actually, Ewan bought the sound system down there on day 3 when and we played, what the first song we played, Donna, was How Great Thou Art. That was the song we played, yeah. And yeah, I know, it was beautiful. And there was all this, it was a very scary moment, in fact, because the police with that day, they were doing those pushes into the crowd. And so there was about 6 deep of the crowd, and the police every half an hour would give it a good push and pull some people out. And so it was a horribly scary space for everybody involved to be there. So we brought the music in and we turned it on, and things have evolved into this experience that we all shared, which was, so uplifting for so many people and tragic. But I'm sort of digressing a bit. I guess what I believe personally is that we put an energetic signature on Parliament grounds, actually, with that protest. And the way we all came together under one banner and worked across all faiths, all humans, all peoples to understand how we can self-organize, in fact. And so
what was interesting about the occupation, because I was down there in the second week, and after all what had happened, and Parliament got their lawns back, I guess, is that they did a karakia to lift the kino mauri, I guess. And here's the thing. Those Māori leaders didn't even consider what all the issues were about, and that there was actually kino coming from within Parliament itself. So if you want to lift kino wairua, you can't just lift it out. It was just, for me, from a Māori perspective, it was using our tikanga for political gain, and that's how I see it. But anyway, that's just my perspective. But sorry for it.
No. It's easy to digress. It's been such an amazing time. Honestly, for all of us, we could all tell a story about what's happened in our lives since mid last year. Life's changed completely, and so many people I'm meeting every day are really stepping up and offering all this incredible stuff to the collective. So, we've got this, guys, and we really hope that resonance can serve. So look, we had our logo before. There's the logo and our little flyer, and I better get onto the app, in fact, and stick to my key messages. So Resonance, here it is. It's on your phone. Resonance is a new mobile app. And so what we did is we switched out the old one and created this new one. And so basically it's just like a big phone book or a big directory with listings in so many different categories. I'll just show you what one looks like. We're in produce here. I've clicked produce, and then we click on the listing, and there is a produce listing. We have to look at what I'm doing. And there, what you get is you can just call people directly. You push the call button, and then you just call them directly, or email them, or you go to their website, or you can even go down here and go to the route planner, and it shows you how to get there. It'll just pop up with you can just drive there, sort of thing. So what it does is it actually provides you the listings that are closest to where you are. So it's location based. So, it is our hope with this app that we'll get to understand the people in our area and what they're all offering under a myriad of categories. And I can't see you there, Donna. Are you still there, or have you dropped off? Or is it just me here now? I'm sure you'll come back if you have. So just sort of looking at the app itself and giving you an idea of the types of categories we've got in here. We've got obviously a lot of stuff under health. A lot of the health professionals, particularly holistic health practitioners, were early adopters to the Resonance app. We've got stuff in community like Connect and Find a Friend. We've obviously got produce in there, meat and poultry, and we're very keen to get more produce listings, as we all understand that food sustainability is going to be or food security is the next thing that we're going to be facing. We've got a large spiritual section, so, all the spiritual groups, as well as readings and counsellors and people that can hold your hand through some of these more difficult times that many of us have been going through. We've got land and living, so we've got a button on there for people that have got land where they'd like to attract other people to come and live with them, and people that are looking to go and live on the land with others. So there's a place there for people to connect and line up. And in there we have things around permaculture, growing and gardening, and we're hoping to put a seed-saving connection in that one as well. And then, of course, we've got all the services. So the business services, gosh, there's so many business listings in here now. Everything from coaching, we've got heaps of business coaches, but we've got anything from graphic design, we've got cleaning, we've got marriage celebrants. I'm just reading off the app here at the moment. We've got printing companies, we've got coffee carts, and all kinds of services that you can imagine, childcare, gardening, IT, and financial services. So it's very, very useful, in fact. So it's our hope that people will use this to trade amongst ourselves, if you get my drift.
That's right. How do people are asking on my questions, how do they get onto the app, and how do they?
It's easy. Just download it from the App Store or the Play Store, and it's there. And obviously look out for that love heart logo, because there's a few called Resonance, but I think it's the only New Zealand app. And and download it. And then if you're wanting to put a listing in here, then all you do is at the top of each listing. So we're in services now. I'll get that in front of the camera. There we go. So there's
I'm just going to let you take the screen, and I'm going to hop out of.
Okay, that's all good. So you just hit this button here, create listing, and then what happens is a form comes up. It's a bit basic in its IT functionality. It's no Facebook. But you just fill in the form, upload the photo, choose a category, and send it off, and then we'll get that at this end, and obviously we have to curate it to make sure it's appropriate for the app and put it in. And if you feel more comfortable doing that on a laptop or a computer where the screen's a bit bigger, you can also do that from www.resonance.kiwi. So that's another place for you to put your listings on. The app itself is only on a mobile phone, so it's not a web app at this point. And if the internet went out for any reason, the app will stay on your phone and the listings will stay there. So in order to do that, you'll have to enable some things when it comes down from the Play stores, but essentially it'll be locally on your own phone. So just to quickly go through a couple of other categories, so we've got accommodation on here. So maybe you've got a room in your house that you want to rent out. And I did that myself a while back. I had somebody, actually I'm continually getting inquiries, but I had a fellow come through a while ago who was very down in the mouth after being down at Parliament and had been marginalised by his Hare Krishna community as a result. He came and stayed with me. We had such a great connection because we were in resonance with each other, and we uplifted each other tremendously, and he went away from here a much happier guy. And that's what it's all about, resonance. It's it's about connecting us with our own people that understand that what we see is not the reality of our situation. And so it's that ability to bring in our tribe on a local level, find out who the people are, what they're doing, and connect with them directly without the middleman. So, there's no logging in or anything, creating an account like TradeMe. You can actually just call people directly through the app. And just briefly, so common law, we're working with common law assemblies to get some more content in there. We have minimal content in there at the moment, but it's a category that will be expanding. We've got education, so the unschooling movement are very present with the Resonance app, and that's something we fully support.
Talk about the schooling, if I can interject,
sure.
Here, because my last few lives have actually been about the lockdowns over the last couple of days. The lockdowns in schools, the evacuation, and where some parents are saying it felt like a drill. People are questioning because the media actually had the information before parents did, and and the fact that on the Ministry of Education that they've got what's required under law, and they can detain children for 72 hours. I mean, all really scary stuff without being an alarmist, but we have to be informed so we know what's coming down. And what I love about this app, and thank you, Ruth, for showing me through it yesterday, I just could see many things were going through my head, and I thought this is exactly what the freedom space need. If the internet goes down, we've still got some way of connecting with each other.
That's correct. Yeah, no, it is. It's a sort of bit of a Noah's Ark type thing, really, is how we see it in a way. Hopefully it's not going to get that bad, but we just don't know what the future holds at the moment. So the app itself has an ability to send notifications as well. And one thing we're going to be looking at as well as how to best use that, should we need to going forward. But it can send location-based notifications too. So for instance, I'm in Wellington, it can show a notification to just the Wellington Resonance app users. So there's a lot of potential for use here. And of course, myself and my two co-founders, Ewan and Marnie, we certainly can't think of everything in terms of functionality or what it could be useful for. So we're really calling out to, particularly at this time of growth and expansion, we're calling out for partners. We want people with networks, with ideas, with light bulb moments. Please get in touch with us, and please let us know what you're thinking, how you might like to better use the app, what you might like to see in terms of categories that need to be changed or functionality that you'd like to see improved and included. We're very much open to that, and having the best IT that we can have to serve the need of the collective, because that's what we're all about. We're in service and we are volunteers. And it's not profit. There's no income coming in for the Resonance app at this stage. So we're just doing this because it needs to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. We're, like a lot of us, like a lot of people at the moment, many people are meeting that we're
Well,
doing this.
What I love about it, Ruth, and when I was down at the occupation, a lot of people were saying that the occupation was really healing, because people actually felt alone and they thought they were going crazy, that because of the mandates, because of the coercion, because of the vaccine injuries, there were, it was literally whānau against whānau members. And so there were a lot of people that felt really alone, and their mental well-being was being affected by this whole lockdown situation that the government had created. So this app would have gone off down at the occupation, but I see it as a way of connecting, and that's the key. The key
Absolutely. That is what it's all about. It's about the connection. And so in that way, we haven't branded the Resonance app in alignment with any particular freedom movement per se. We want to keep the platform as wide and as open to everybody as possible, because as we go forward, more and more people are going to wake up. So we don't want anything exclusive, and we want Resonance to be very much for everybody. Of course, it's self-selecting. Those of us that understand the need to get on it will get on it, and those that don't won't notice it, we believe. Yeah. But more than that,
what about those living in our whānau living in Australia? Can they still upload it?
Yes, they can. Yep, you can download it from anywhere in the world. It'll be more useful, obviously, for New Zealand people. But we are, we've had some early initial inquiries from some international interest to see if we wanted to develop it further. At the moment, we're concentrating on getting those listings in and getting it functional and useful in New Zealand. Just one more thing on the branding side of things, or our ethos, if you like, is we're very much, it's way more than brand. We're very much about creating useful solutions for the future. So we're not really about talking about what's going on, because we've moved on from there. We know that there's a lot of very dark stuff going on, and we don't actually know exactly what's going on in many cases as well. So we're pouring all of our energy into thinking about what are we going to do and what does the future look like, because we also very much believe in the power of manifestation and the power of the heart, intention, heart, serendipity, love, all of those things that are going to get us through. And this is the evolution that the human's going through at the moment, is actually the practical understanding that what we put out to the universe is reflected back to us. And that's a personal journey for each and every one of us. But to assist with your personal journey, we have a bulletin here. So that bulletin has got a collection of podcasts and articles, which are all uplifting and all about future building, community building, permaculture, holism, encouragement. And they're fantastic. There's whole movies in there. You just click on one and then the podcast pops up. And then there's a Save Our Soil. We've got localization. That was an amazing movie. I watched that one last week at World Localization Day, which talks about, the movement to localization. And that's what the resonance is all about, because when you look in a category, it's hard to do this in two directions. What you'll see there is the first, you'll see where these listings are located. You see that? And you'll see how many kilometres away they are from where you are.
Wow.
So it's about connecting on a local level, calling the people up, having a conversation. You may want to trade something with them, you may not. And so in that way, we're really encouraging people to think with us in terms of how they'd like to use it, and put a listing in, even if you don't know, even if you're not a business selling something, or you just put something in. I mean, you could put something in. I saw the other day, somebody's put something under Connect. So that's wanting to start a men's group in Wellington, you see? It's under community. So, things like that is that's what we're looking for, people just to get in there. And with the bulletin as well, it's a nice app to spend some time in. And as it grows, it's just growing. It just seems to sort of be taking off, in fact. And I think, was it last night or the night before, we got 180 downloads or something like that. And so 50 listings came in overnight yesterday, or near to 50, which is fantastic. So that's really what it's all about at the moment, is getting people on it, get everybody in there.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ruth. I thought I'd bring the positive in first, because what I tend to do is inform, educate. At times there are assumptions made, but you base those assumptions on what's in front of you, what people are sharing with you, and that's a bit of a different space to where you're at. You're sort of future-proofing our future.
That's it. We're working on the solutions, and we're working on the ability to connect us all. It doesn't matter what group you're in, what piece you hold of the freedom movement, if you want, for a better word. We're all about the future builders and how we're going to create this parallel marketplace. If things do get really interesting, let's just say, and I believe they will do over the next few years, we will have a resilient network of people on there who we know that are on the same page as soon as we contact them. So we've found our tribe on a national level.
Yes, that's right. I love it. Oh, awesome. So maybe later on in the future, I might bring you back on just to do a bit of an update and see how it's going.
Anytime.
And it's always good to have positive stuff as well, rather than just all be doom and gloom.
Absolutely.
But what I love about your app is, like I say, it's future-proofing what's coming down. I think things are going to get worse before they get better. You're at the front end of the better.
Well, we like to think so, and it's an exciting time to be alive. What can I say? I mean, there's terrible things happening, but we need to take that bull by the horns and move forward and start creating the world, start creating what we want. So let's create it,
and not rely on the government for that lifestyle, but ensure we clip their wings, because that taniwha's got a bit big.
Yes, a little bit. But we're one, as you know, and now we just got to get from A to B, and that's no mean feat. These next few years are going to be very interesting, but full of potential. So
awesome.
Much love, Donna, and I really appreciate you having me today. That's really much appreciated. And please, everybody at home, please download the app and tell your friends about it. That's the only way we're going to get it out, is word of mouth. We have absolutely no budget. And if you do feel like making a donation to Resonance, we would so appreciate it, that we could do some flyers then, or some brochures to hand out to businesses. We have got a Give a Little page, Resonance, and you're very welcome to make a donation there. Also on our website, there's a QR code for any of those that work in cryptocurrency, www.resonance.kiwi. You can find more about us and get to meet by photo my two wonderful co-founders, Ewan and Marnie. And yeah, we're just so grateful to everybody who's downloaded the app so far. And thanks again, Donna, for having us today.
Oh, and I need to meet your other co-creators as well. So
yeah, there's a beautiful photo on the website. Have a look at that. They're absolutely gorgeous, and they're so
awesome.
dedicated. And yeah, we're doing our best.
Oh, well, kia pai tō rā, Ruth, and we'll keep in touch, and we'll catch up soon.
Ka kite.
Ai, ka kite, kite. Sorry. Kia ora rā.
Bye.
Wow, whānau, wasn't that awesome? Absolutely awesome. So that was Ruth Copeland, one of the creators of Resonance, Connecting the Collective. So if you go on to any of the sites when you can download your apps, depending on what type of phone you have, then go and search for Resonance, and you'll see a red heart with a R through it. I'll just share so you can have another look. Hopefully I can bring it up. Hang on a minute. So just so you get a feel of what it looks like. So there it is there, the heart with the R on it. I just think it's absolutely amazing. And it was awesome that Ruth came on to have a bit of a kōrero about it. I mean, it's a bit more than what I would have been able to explain. Better to get it from the horse's mouth. They've created this out of aroha, and I'm just sharing with you, it wasn't cheap. To create an app is not cheap. And it's a gift to us. So let's not waste this taonga whānau. Let's get out, let's use it and share it with your whānau, and it'll connect us all. So I'm already on there. She took me through a dummy run yesterday, and there's things that I can put up there in the bulletin. Those that straight after the occupation, there were people that were homeless, right? Well, they've got land there where people want to share their land with a community, all that sort of stuff. Markets, to me, all the good stuff. So can't speak highly enough of it. Now, that's that kōrero. Bloomfield. His parting gift to all of us was ordering councils to put fluoride in their water. And they just cannot help themselves. I mean, he got a standing ovation, for goodness sake. Got a standing ovation, to hand our sovereignty over to unelected officials is exactly what the globalists want to do. Is what's happening in the WHO, the FDA, the NHIs, the WEFs, you name it. They are unelected officials. And we need to grab our democracy back, because they're stealing it right underneath us. In plain sight, they're stealing our democracy. Now, I'm going to play another clip, whānau. It's a... I'm just going to mute. And it's, it's the AM show, and it talks about councils are divided over the Ministries of Health's directive to add fluoride to drinking water. And let's get into having a kōrero about that. Okay, so I'm just going to mute myself, and then
a tap near you, and it's coming to a tap near you soon. Have a listen to Ashley Bloomfield.
Today, I have written to 14 local authorities directing them to fluoridate their drinking water supply.
The Ministry of Health using new nationalised powers to enforce 14 councils to put fluoride into their water. To debate this morning, Rotorua Lakes Mayor Steve Chadwick and Far North District Mayor John Carter. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Steve, I'll start with you. So you haven't had fluoride in the water, full fluoride in the water. Now that is going to have to happen. What do you think about this?
Oh, I think it's long overdue myself. And I think the decision when it sat with local councils was always too hard. We last considered it in 2014 and even voted against a referendum. So it's too hard for local authorities, and I think it does sit with health. And it's a bold decision of this government, and it's long overdue in my view.
Can you afford to change? Can you afford to put it in?
There is funding there, and we'll work through the funding issues with the ministry now, but that's the side issue. I think, can you afford not to do it, Ryan, is my issue. We've got appalling levels of tooth decay here, even in 2-year-olds needing extraction of their baby teeth. So I do believe, as a previous Associate Health Minister, this is the right thing to do.
All right.
And the decision was made by the right authority.
Steve's all for it. Let's go to Far North. John Carter, what do you reckon? You happy?
Well, so no, the problem is that there's been no consultation at all. And that's what worries me. The fact is that what we're reading and what we're learning in the last 24 hours is that the government may come up with some money, but they're going to be looking for the ratepayers to step up and help fund. And so there's a question of affordability. They've told us that there are benefits, and yet they won't give us any analysis of that benefit. And so we can't go out to the community and say we need to do this because this is going to be the advantage to you.
Well, John, I'll just stop you there, because in 2009, the New Zealand Oral Health Survey showed that children living in areas that had fluoridated water had 40% lower lifetime incidence of tooth decay.
Yeah, no, I accept that. What we're talking about is the affordability issue here. Who's going to pay for it?
The moolah.
And what we're saying is that why would you just pick on Kiri and Kaitaia? What about the rest of our district? What about the Hokianga? What about the Kiwis? The towns like that, Tikau, Omanaya, they also deserve, if they're going to have it, if it is as good as they say, and they haven't come and told us that yet, they need to come and explain it to us so that we can get the community. This is about local government and about local. And it's just a typical, again, of the government with the 3 waters, all the changes, and not consulting with our local people.
Right,
it's
you're worried
really frustrating.
They've put the horse before the cart, perhaps, without...
just again.
Yeah, okay.
And the other thing, Ryan, is just let's understand there's a whole lot of change happening. These are really technical changes, and I don't think we have the technicians across New Zealand to actually implement it. You can't just go and chuck a bit of fluoride in the water and say, yep, let's get on with it. Actually, there's a whole lot of technical things of making sure that it mixes in with the other chemicals that are put into the water to make sure it's pure.
It sounds like
each one's different.
Okay, well, it sounds like up north it sounds like we're a bit overwhelmed. Council's a bit overwhelmed, feeling a bit smothered.
Well, it'll be across New Zealand, Ryan.
All right, Steve, what do you make of what John's saying? Is central government putting too much pressure and too many balls in the air trying to be juggled by local councils?
No, and we knew about this a year ago, so it's wrong to say we didn't gear up. This was notified a year ago in the Act that went before the House, so councils need to have been doing the work to know and be ready. I understand about the funding issues in the Far North, and even for us, John, this is going to fluoridate 2 of 9 supplies of water, but it's a great start, and we'll work through it. It's ridiculous to think that councils could have got an agreement across the mutu to get this great public health measure in. And you and I both believe in health and well-being of our communities.
Steve, you said 2 of 9 of yours will get fluoride. What happens?
They're the central supply. So once you've got those in, then you start working through the other rural and scattered supplies, which is what John's concerned about. You've got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And Ryan, the problem is that actually it's just another 3 waters debacle. It's not been planned out. It hasn't been thought through. It hasn't gone out to the local people. Our community don't know about it. And quite honestly, it'll end up being just another basket case.
All right. Great debate, you guys. I feel like I've had a bit of fluoride this morning. Rotorua Lakes Mayor Steve Chadwick, Far North District Mayor John Carter with
Thank
us.
you.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you. It's just
Now, we've got our local government elections coming. So Steve Chadwick and the other guy, gosh, sorry, I didn't get his name off, John. I see his face on the news quite a bit from up north. What's his surname? Sorry, I was busy taking notes. Anyway, it's really important that we understand what local politicians are standing for, right? For me, the debate about fluoridation is the justification around it. So central government, again, justifying putting fluoride in our water because of children's teeth. Hey, here's a thought. Maybe let's get sugar out of their diet. I mean, I've got a sweet tooth. So I get it. I've got a sweet tooth. But, sugar seems to be the main issue. And we got sugar barons. So why don't we go to the heart of the problem of children's teeth? Because they'll throw out, this is about the well-being and the health of children's teeth, right? And I get that. I was a parent and I'm a grandparent. I get that. But putting fluoride in our drinking water, for me, the issue is, where does it stop? Where does an unelected person in power, an official in power, stop? It will go from fluoridation, then to Pfizer, and then to whatever. I mean, it's a stepping stone. But here's what's happening, and it really, I am frustrated. I believe that you're elected. This is about elected officials, right? This is about them acting on your behalf. This is not a dictatorship, whānau. This is not about tyrants telling you, who are unelected, telling you what's good for you. They talk about, research, and I've also, there's a lot of research for and against, right? And it's a hot debate and it's a hot issue. Studies have found that fluoride is a neurotoxin and it's an endocrine disruptor, right? And what they are arguing is that this is bad for children's teeth. So there are pros. There's research for and against, right? So if there's research for and against, and the research is butting, it really is so subjective because it depends on which side of the pendulum you sit on. And here's the thing. So shouldn't the community elect its own people who they think are going to best represent their position? Because as much as they argue that there's evidence out there to show that fluoride protects children's teeth, there's just as much evidence out there that it's a neurotoxin and it can create harm. It crystallizes in your pineal glands. I'm not a health professional. I'm just a concerned grandparent, because all my children are growing up. I'm a concerned grandparent, right? And here's another thing, like if we look at our tinana, and I look at our tinana, like I look at the blood as being our waterways, right? And I look at our lymphatic system as being our sewage. So the lymphatics flushes our waste out, and our blood puts all the good stuff into our bodies, right? So if we are going to inject toxins into our blood, how does that impact? I mean, this is just my own analysis. You can come up with your own. But how does that impact on your whole body as a whole, right? Right. So when you're looking at it, look at it just in a way that you can understand it. There's a lot of science around it, and I'm not a scientist. I'm not an expert in this. In this issue, but why should we not have a say in what goes into our water? Because like I say, it's a stepping stone to inoculate us with other stuff. There's no stopping them after fluoride. That's all I wanted to really have a kōrero with you about. We've got filters. We've got a water filter that can take metals out and all sorts of stuff. It cost us an arm and a leg. And all I can say that is if they're going to fluoride our water, then we have to invest in a bloody good water filter. A bloody good water filter. And yeah, my issue is again about democracy. This is another erosion of our democracy. So that's about fluoride. And Bloomfield, his parting gift for us is to order. They're ordering us around left, right, and centre. Order. Health orders. They know what's in our best interest, right? They think that we're stupid. They think that we're ignorant, and they think that they know better than us, the one source of truth. I believe that we need to get back to our democracy and let our communities decide on what's good for their communities. Amen to that. Now, here's another area. So you've got all these things happening. So if you look at the bills that are before the House, right, you've got the Digital Identity Services Trust Framework Bill, right? Now that's about digitalizing all our ID, all our data into one centralized system. Who do we know behind the scenes controls that system? How do we know that our government's not going to sell off our data to these big technocrats, right? Because they work in association with each other. There's that issue. And then we've got the Reserve Bank wanting to digitalize our currency. So our fiat money system is going to collapse, and what we're seeing now is the stepping stone to collapsing our fiat money system, so that we're going to move into a controlled space where the minions, a lot of the minions are going to be on better benefits, because we've got artificial intelligence that's going to take a lot of our mahi away. With artificial intelligence, this is all happening as we speak. This is not conspiracy theory. This is about connecting the dots, right? And now you've got the data and statistical bill out there, which again gives an unelected official the ability to decide what data to collect, how to collect it, and whether or not that data is important or not. You look at what's been happening with MedSafe, and I've sort of been screaming from the rooftops, and you get a little bit frustrated when you see all these things happening and people are still not waking up to it. And MedSafe, you've got all this data in there. So, for example, any adverse effects or any adverse reactions, it's not mandatory to collect that data on a toxin, a hazardous toxin, a hazardous substance that hasn't been trialed, and there is not mandatory. It's not mandatory to collect that data if people have been adversely injured through it. This is vaccine injury I'm talking about. We've already got 62,000 or nearly 63,000 people that have already added to that data, and they say that MedSafe only collects about 5% of that voluntary data. Well, crikey, if 62,000 is only 5%, what are the real numbers? And this is where governments are playing with data and they play with statistics to suit the narrative, right? And the data and statistics bill is another erosion, whānau. Okay, so we've got all of this data. The only thing that is mandatory is if someone dies by law, they have to be registered. And so we've seen after the first jab, after the second jab, after the third jab, over 3,000 people have died temporal to those jabs, right? And again, that's important data that our paid-off media have not even challenged the government over. All you're getting is this propaganda on your radio and your newspapers and on 6 o'clock news. But look at what's happening around you. We have got to be vigilant because our democracy is nearly out the back door. You need to ask your local politicians, do you support fluoridation in the water? Here's the thing, you might actually agree that fluoridation helps to strengthen your teeth. Well, then go and use it as a supplement. Go and get fluoride toothpaste. But no one has the right to put anything into the water unless the community, the local community says, I agree to that. And if your elected bodies support that and the local community don't agree to it, then you get them out. You kick them out. But instead, they, just like I said, the WHO, the NHI, the FDA, all of them have unelected officials pushing for centralized power of the world. And we whānau are the guinea pigs for that. So, yes, we had this positive kōrero from Ruth with that app, and it's amazing. And I'm on there, and I hope to see you on there. But this is our reality. This is our reality. We've got the digital identity services, and they have a cheek to put trust there in the actual bill. Trust. There's no trust of this government. That's what they're doing to it's just about like hypnosis. They're using words to hypnotize us and go, oh yeah, you know, this government's good. This government's good. You know, like I said, my darling went to whānau Tangiana, and they know that their whānau are dying, right? And they go, we don't know what's happening. And he goes, wake up, wake up. My dad was still alive. He said, Donna's down in Taranaki. Her father's been vaccine injured. And they go, oh, no, the government wouldn't do that to us. Really, whānau? Do we have a short memory? Yes, think back, you know, maybe 200 years ago. Do we have a short memory? Indigenous people have been at the genocidal end of colonization, right? You saw the Pope apologize to the Native Americans. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. There were, you know, if not thousands of children, of Native Indian children that died at the hands of the Catholic Church, the murdering bastards. That's all I can say. Because that's exactly what they are. They raped and murdered children. And yet the one of the oldest religion with one of the most patrons to that particular faith. And yet this is what they were doing. And it's gone ongoing, and no one in history has been held accountable from that church. So, you know, all of this, we've just got to start opening our eyes, and we do not, what's happened to Indigenous people around the world, we do not want it to happen to anyone else. We've been there. The whole lot of us have been there and done that. Our tupuna have been there and done that. And the fact that Māori are just so quick to accept that one source of truth without doing their own due diligence just really hits me in the heart. There's too much information out there now. There's no excuses, and we all need to be on the right side of history, because our uri, we are fighting for their future, not so much for our future, eh? We're doing it for them. And if we're on the wrong side of history, then, you know, that's the legacy you are leaving. So anyway, whānau, I'm going to tune out now. Thank you to TK, Alison, Sarai for tuning in, Ngāwai, Karen, Mata. You always have something interesting to say, Mata. But thank you anyway for staying tuned in. Lillian, Liz, Manda, Kilda, Sharon, Stella, awesome, Jules, thank you, hun. Mandel. So anyway, it is what it is, and don't you hate that saying? Let's challenge our politicians, especially when they want to fluoride our waters. And Steve Chadwick talked about. Well, actually, was she a previous health minister? I think she was. Again, she believes that it's a great public health measure. Really, if we really care about our children, then let's look after their teeth. If we really care about our children, let's get dentist subsidies, for the whole whānau, not just for the children, because under 18 is supposedly free. But if we care about people's health and well-being, let's do it in how we fund and resource some of these health measures, not just putting fluoridation into water, because like I said, there are for and against research in regard to that debate. So if that's the case, let the community decide. I'm going to tune out now, whānau, kia pai tōra. Have an awesome day. Ka kite anō. Kia ora.